Research actually shows that a customer has to see something 7 times before they make a decision and make that purchase.
Welcome back to Digital Dominance. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you've probably figured out that digital marketing is really just marketing with the added benefit of technology. That's why we're constantly talking about marketing principles and not just how to deliver the optimal Facebook ad configuration for maximum ROI, because every campaign is different and you need to know who you're talking to and what they care about. It's not about figuring out the magic incantation to suddenly go viral. We are going to have some deep dive episodes soon where we get into the ins and outs of online ads and optimizing campaigns. But today, we're going to expand our understanding of marketing principles by discussing something called customer-centric marketing. Customer-centric marketing focuses on creating a seamless and personalized experience for target customers. And today, we have the pleasure of hearing Shana Brewer enlighten us on this topic. Shana is a seasoned marketing professional with almost 20 years of combined experience within various industries from technology, entertainment, consumer goods, and nonprofits. She is currently serving as a senior manager of global marketing campaigns at a global software company, and she enjoys providing her marketing expertise to small business owners and nonprofits during her free time. That in itself tells you just how passionate she is about marketing. So thanks for joining me today, Shana. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jeff. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. So, Shana, customer centric marketing sounds like it just means putting your customers first, but I have a feeling there's a bit more to it than that. So, can you give us your overview?
Yeah, absolutely. How I see customer centric marketing is really get into the hearts and minds of your target customer and really understanding what are their pain points? What do they want to see from your business, from your solution? What are things that keep them up at night that you can help them with? Really is just keeping the customer first, like you said it, and with your marketing, making sure that you're addressing the customer's needs.
So, it seems like it would be easy for someone to just dismiss this and say, well, of course, I'm customer centric. I'm the cheapest option on the market, or we have the best guarantee around. But I mean, there's more to it. So, how do you draw that out and kind of take that next step where it's actually a little bit more meaningful and you really are in your customer's shoes?
Yeah, so usually what I like to tell businesses or some of my nonprofit organizations that I work with first is to really think about your target audience. Who is the target audience that you're going after? So, for example, I volunteer with a boxer rescue organization. I am a dog lover. And so I really want to help this nonprofit to succeed. So I have them think about who's their target audience that is going to support their mission of rescuing homeless boxers. It's probably going to be dog lovers like myself or animal lovers or people who have fostered or rescued dogs before and really getting to the mind of that customer profile. What are they thinking? Where are they in terms of online communities? Where do they get their information? So, a good way to start is to have that target customer in mind. It could even be like thinking of them as a person. Like, this is Jane. She works at the local library and she loves to rescue dogs in her spare time, right? Like thinking about that one perfect customer and really getting into the minds of that customer.
It's kind of sounds like a peel the onion situation where the more you analyze your campaigns, your website, your emails, the more you're going to find those things that you can fix or improve. But I also feel like you're going to recognize the assumptions you're making the more you do that. Because if you just say, oh, I think this person would do XYZ, but if you actually start interviewing them or talking to them, you might find something different. Is that been your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. You bring up a good point because with marketing, everything's about data analytics and getting insights from your data. So if you have a website that you're already managing, look into the analytics because there's demographic information there. There's really good insights on once a customer enters your website, maybe how long does it take for them to donate, or how long does it take for them to purchase a product. Definitely leverage the data to your advantage to learn more about your customers.
Okay, so that's a good place to start. Let's say you look at your data, you figure out some things, you make some changes, but you don't just walk away and never revisit that, right? What's the feedback loop for this customer centric approach? How do you refine and optimize and adapt over time? Because as you change something, maybe you realize, oh, I overdid it or I underdid it, and kind of continue to narrow in on that.
Yeah, so another part of this kind of customer centric or customer first marketing is also looking at the buyer's journey or customer journey. So it can be referred to interchangeably as either buyer's journey or customer journey. And a lot of different research companies and organizations usually have three stages of the buyer's journey, which starts with awareness first, and then consideration, and then decision. And so if you think of just us as consumers, we all go through that journey of awareness is first. I'm trying to purchase a car and I'm doing my research online. What type of cars are reliable? What's the price points for these cars? Do I want a EV or an SUV? Right? There's so many options. So I'm in that awareness phase because I am aware of what I need, but I don't know what's out there. So that's the awareness stage. And then the second stage is consideration stage, where I'm now doing all my research and kind of knowing what are my options out there. Maybe it's a Honda, a Tesla, BMW, etc. And I'm kind of evaluating against all of these. And then comes the decision stage, which that's your convert time, right? To really get that customer to convert or make that decision or purchase the product, purchase your service, whatever. And that is going to be when you finally get their buy-in to buy your product or purchase your service. So think about kind of that journey from awareness to decision and what you can offer them or help them in getting from awareness to decision.
Is there value in adding more detailed steps within those three stages, or is that just overcomplicating it?
I think it's better to be simple, especially if you're lacking on resources. You know, you're a small business, nonprofit. If you don't have enough bandwidth or hands to kind of monitor the journey. And another big part is creating the content that matches to each journey. You don't want to confuse the buyer. Like, too much information out there also is not good, because you still want to nurture them and help guide them through the process of when they're first learning about your product or service to when they finally make that decision. So I would say I would err on the side of simplicity, just to make sure that you're not overwhelming your target customer.
Okay, and it sounds like not overwhelming yourself either, because if you're creating all that extra work, you can't keep up with all that. So that brings me to the next phase would be, let's say you do have a little bit of resources and you have multiple channels, right? Another aspect of providing a seamless experience is making sure there's consistency across those channels. So can you give some examples of what that might look like?
Yeah, so that could also be called multi channel, or sometimes referred to as omni channel marketing, too, to make sure that you're providing a seamless user experience across offline channels and online channels. So let's say we'll take the car example again. Let's say I'm in the market for a Honda. I'm loyal to Honda cars. So I'm in the market for Honda. I see a print ad in a magazine, and then I go to the website and look up Honda cars. You want to make sure that it's a consistent messaging, consistent brand, that you're not confusing the buyer, like, oh, I see this print ad, but why is the website completely different, different colors, different messaging? So you want to make sure that just consistent across the board, from your print advertising, direct mail, to emails, social ads, your website. So making sure that it's seamless and consistent from offline channels to online channels and vice versa.
Gotcha. Now, if an owner's only been marketing on one single channel and they want to be more customer centric, does that mean they automatically need to start doing some multi channel marketing to reach people where they are?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question because research actually shows that a customer has to see something 7 times before they make a decision and make that purchase. So it's not just going to be that one direct mailer or that one ad necessarily. It's going to be multiple touch points where they're like, "Oh yeah, I saw this the other day. I'm going to finally go buy that product because I've seen it so many times in so many different places," right? And so I think it's hard to justify that it's just this one marketing touch point that's going to lead to that purchase. You need multiple touch points and at multiple channels to really reach that customer.
So, if you have a higher ticket offer, does that require more than 7 touch points?
Yeah, yeah. And let's say, I've worked for many technology companies. That's going to be even harder because now you're looking at a buying committee versus just an individual consumer. So let's say if I am a CIO shopping for some latest technology, I'm not the only one that's making the decision. I need my IT team to test the product. I need to get buy in from potentially our COO, our chief operating officer, and get the budget needed from our CFO, our financial officer. So it becomes this buying committee where now all these people are trying to evaluate the solution and come to a consensus together.
Right. So that goes back to kind of knowing your customer, right? And where they're at and how they're even going through this process. So if your customer is an individual, they're going to be buying things in a much different fashion than a corporation. Because as you said, the corporation could have a committee. They're going to be a lot more focused on the details, the ROI, the implementation strategy, whereas an individual might be initially more swayed by the psychological or the emotional outcome of buying that thing. And then maybe they justify it with the the logic of the reasons that you give after. So I can see how that can make a big difference. Do you have a case study you can kind of walk us through that you helped a client with or a project you worked on to help increase the customer centricity of the marketing?
Yeah. So, one recent example I have in mind is a nonprofit I've been working with as their board secretary. And I came to the marketing discussion a little bit too late in that they had already hired a digital agency to try to increase their donations for this nonprofit. And so the digital agency, of course, they're trying to make a quick buck. I felt like they were kind of taking advantage of this nonprofit organization, but they sold their services as in, hey, we can do these paid social ads for you and you'll be able to increase your donations by this much. And so, without really explaining the logic and really understanding the nonprofit's customer, they just started these paid social ads that didn't appeal to the target audience, was more like a shock factor kind of clickbait versus actually appealing to the emotional response of that target audience. And so in the end, although there was clicks, there was no additional donations. That nonprofit did not see any pickup in donations. And of course, this digital agency kind of scoffed it off as, oh, well, you need to run these ads more. It's not enough of a time frame. And I get it. Like, yes, like advertising, you need some more time for it to take effect, but they were just using the wrong approach because they didn't take into consideration the target audience, and that the target audience wanted more education around this nonprofit. They're think about how we would go about making a decision. Like, we want information, we want education first, versus directly donating to a nonprofit that we know nothing about. So,
Right. So they skip that first step of knowing the customer, right? Because it's like, if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So a lot of agencies, maybe they start in e-commerce or something and they're used to just, okay, turning on the ads, cranking it out. But selling that widget is going to be a lot different than getting someone to donate to a nonprofit, for example. And it sounds like the ads they came up with were all sizzle and no steak. And that wasn't a good choice for this particular application. So that's a great example. All right. So, what are some other common mistakes that business owners make when they're trying to figure out their marketing and be more customer centric?
yeah, I would say one thing that I do see, especially from small businesses and nonprofits with little resources, is that they are trying to do too much all at once and be too many things to too many people. Going back to what we were talking about simplicity, I think it really benefits a business to really be simple and think about how to do things in a more targeted fashion. And so, one thing that I can say that I really like is Simon Sinek's start with why approach. Have you heard of this before?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So Simon Sinek, he is a very well respected business leader and author. And he had this TED talk in 2009 all about this start with why golden circle concept. And it states starting with why in the middle, it's three concentric circles. So starting with why and then how and then what. Whereas customers, or not customers, businesses normally want to start with the what and then the how and the why. So I'll do kind of the wrong way first, which is starting with the what. Take Apple, for example. This was a example that he uses a lot in his talks. So Apple, if they were doing it the wrong way, they could just be like, hey, we sell phones and how we have stores and you can purchase it from our cell phone providers. And then why it's like at that point when customers hear the why, they're like, oh, it's just a phone. Like, what's so special about that? Right. But what Apple was really good at was starting with the why first. So when they first started with their computers, they wanted to be different and they wanted to challenge the status quo. That was their why. And then for their how is they design really beautiful and user friendly products. And then for the what is like, well, we sell computers and phones too. And then just became this phenomenon because people were embracing that like Apple wide, like, oh, like these devices are so different and so user friendly, so like aesthetically pleasing that I want this phone. So I think I would say businesses, they kind of try to be too complicated and not have a clear messaging, not have a clear vision. You got to start there first. You got to start with why first.
Yeah, well, you got to be relatable, right? And you got to know who you're trying to relate to. So know your customer and then focus on making something they can connect with. And then once you get to the what, it's a no brainer because they're already bought into you because they're aligned. They're like, okay, this is the type of thing that I want to be a part of. And so you're not even selling at that point. You're just like, yeah, do you want this? And they're like, yes, definitely, please. It just makes it a lot easier. You just have to put in that upfront work. So, thank you for kind of sharing all that with us and kind of putting it in that perspective because I think that can help people really wrap their heads around why this matters and why it's worth doing that effort. We talk about knowing your customer a lot, and it's not just an annoying step. Like, this is a crucial thing that underpins all of your marketing efforts. Every bit of copy that you write, every promotion that you put together, it's going to be a lot more effective if you've done this well. It's like greasing the skids, it'll go a lot more smoothly. So if you guys listening want to go connect with Shana, you can find her on LinkedIn. Her profile link will be in the show notes. Shana, do you have any final thoughts for us?
I will say is definitely something that I champion, this customer centric approach, making sure that you are very clear in why your business exists, what you can offer to the customer, but really coming it from the angle that you can help the customer, whether it be to save time or to educate them on something instead of kind of touting your own business or products, like always think about what you can provide to the customer and making them your priority.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, folks. Thanks again for being here, Shayna, and thanks to everyone listening. Go focus on your customers, and I'll see you in the next episode.